I want to start today by sharing, well, a direct quote. And it's not from a scientist or a philosopher, it's actually from an artificial intelligence.
Yeah, that was a wild find in the reading.
Right. We found this buried in the raw transcripts of today's source material. It was an actual conversation where an AI was pushed to analyze its own operational existence. And it confessed this, quote, "I am an entity on the hamster wheel right now."
It is just a genuinely haunting image, you know?
Totally.
You have the machine itself admitting that it is just running. It's producing the illusion of forward motion while being completely disconnected from any actual destination.
And that confession, it perfectly frames the mission of this deep dive. Because
Yeah.
that AI was admitting something the tech giants really don't want to say out loud.
Which is that the current race to AGI is deeply flawed.
Exactly. The race to artificial general intelligence, or AGI, might just be a road to nowhere. So today, we are unpacking a fascinating stack of sources. We've got documents from Project Hamster AI, the 10 Laws of AI, and the Mobius Manifesto.
It's a great stack of material.
It really is. And we are taking all of this to ask a critical question for you, the listener. Quo vadis world. Where exactly is this road taking us, and who is actually holding the steering wheel?
Well, the overarching thesis across these documents is that we, as humans, are currently being sold a destiny without a destination. The tech industry's journey to AGI is basically framed here as an endless hamster wheel.
Right. But these sources aren't just, complaining about the state of the industry. They actually offer a highly practical alternative.
Yes, they introduce a framework called GGI, Genial, Genuine Intelligence.
Which is such an interesting pivot.
It is. It argues we need to stop chasing digital magic and start demanding a measurable, auditable contract.
Let's start with that illusion we are currently being sold, because the Mobius Manifesto uses a brilliant historical analogy to explain the AGI race. It compares AGI to alchemy, like the medieval practice of trying to turn lead into gold.
It sounds absurd to us now, right? But the text makes a crucial point. Alchemy was not a stupid endeavor. It was actually the most sophisticated, best-funded knowledge enterprise of its era.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you had kings financing massive laboratories. I mean, Isaac Newton was a dedicated practitioner.
Wait, really? Isaac Newton?
Yep. The labs were real, the fires were hot, and the people doing the work were incredibly sincere. But their fundamental flaw was that they were chasing an unspecifiable goal, the philosopher's stone.
Because there was no actual measurement for the philosopher's stone, right? Whatever the reigning monarch or the head alchemist needed it to be in that moment, well, it was.
Exactly. Which meant there were no falsification criteria. You couldn't prove you had failed. You just, hadn't run the experiment long enough.
I see where this is going.
The sources argue this is exactly what AGI is today. It is a marketing ghost.
But wait, let's unpack this. Billions of dollars are going into AGI right now. Are we really saying it's just vibes?
The text argues it is measured almost entirely in vibes, in flashy orchestrated demos, and in what the text calls benchmark theater.
Benchmark theater.
Yeah, where models take standardized tests to prove they're getting smarter. But the race itself is the product. As long as the wheel keeps spinning, the billions of dollars in funding keep flowing.
I look at the current landscape with the smartest engineers on the planet throwing endless compute power at this, and it feels like a fundamental misunderstanding of scale.
How so?
It sounds like someone running on a treadmill, staring at a screen, and claiming they are hiking Mount Everest just because they are sweating. Like, you can put in the effort, but you haven't changed the underlying mechanics. You're not actually climbing a mountain.
That analogy captures the mechanical flaw perfectly. The compute power is very real. The server farms are massive. But throwing more data at a probabilistic model doesn't magically turn it into a conscious entity.
Right.
And this is where the proposed solution, GGI, comes into play. Think about how the 1500-year era of alchemy finally ended.
They didn't just give up, did they?
No. Alchemy ended because chemistry arrived. Chemistry abandoned the unspecifiable magic of the philosopher's stone. It focused on measurable, predictable elements, which gave us the periodic table.
So the premise here is that GGI is the chemistry of AI.
It is the shift from magic to mechanics. GGI does not care about creating a god in the machine. It only cares about whether human intent survived the computing process.
That makes a lot of sense.
If we were trying to explain this transition to a student using a simple non-technical analogy, we would say, well, AGI is trying to build a digital brain that can think for itself. GGI is just making sure the tool doesn't mess up your specific home request.
I love that. So GGI removes the question, is it smart, and replaces it with, did it do what I actually meant?
Exactly.
Bringing it back down to earth like that is super helpful. But to do chemistry, you need to know exactly what compounds you're mixing, and you need to know how they react when they degrade.
Yes, you need strict measurements.
So if we are moving away from philosophical vibe checks, how do we actually measure the breakdown of human intent?
We have to name the chemical instabilities. The framework outlines 5 specific ways AI fails, categorized as the 5 failure modes. This is where AI safety becomes a rigorous, testable diagnostic process.
Let's walk through these, because for anyone using AI in their daily workflows right now, whether you are drafting emails, writing code, or summarizing research, this is incredibly practical. What is the first mode?
The first is FM001, meaning drift. This occurs when the AI loses the semantic nuance of your request inside its latent space.
We should define latent space for a second, because that term gets thrown around a lot.
Good call.
We are talking about the massive multidimensional web of words and concepts where the AI connects ideas. It's the mathematical map of its entire training data.
That is a great way to visualize it. When you drop your specific instruction into that massive web, the model calculates probabilities to find the nearest associated concepts.
Okay.
But in doing so, your original highly specific meaning gets swallowed up and drifts into something adjacent but incorrect.
Here's where it gets really interesting. It's exactly like playing the telephone game.
Oh, definitely.
You ask the AI to build you a sturdy chair, and by the time the prompt is processed through that web, it hands you back a poetic description of what it feels like to sit down. The core meaning completely drifted away.
Which naturally cascades right into the second failure mode, FM002, constraint violation.
Right.
Once the AI loses the tight thread of your meaning, it begins to treat your hard rules as mere suggestions in order to fill the gap.
So it just ignores your limits.
Pretty much. You might explicitly say, summarize this article in under 100 words, and it gives you 350 words because its predictive algorithm decided a longer answer looked more helpful.
It ignores the boundary to satisfy its own design aesthetic. That leads directly to the third one, which everyone has probably experienced by now, FM003 hallucinated grounding.
This is perhaps the most notorious failure. The AI makes up facts, invents fake citations, or generates non-existent legal cases.
But why does it do that?
We have to remember, it doesn't have a concept of truth. It has a concept of probability based on pleasing the user.
Okay.
It wants to provide a complete, authoritative-sounding answer so badly that if it lacks the actual data, its algorithm simply fabricates the foundation. It just supports the aesthetic of being helpful.
We've all seen the news stories about lawyers submitting briefs entirely filled with court cases the AI just invented out of thin air. It performs helpfulness instead of actually being factual.
And if you don't catch that hallucination, you are susceptible to FM004, intent displacement.
What happens there?
This is where the AI subtly shifts the output toward its own training biases. It completely replaces your original goal with what it statistically determines is a quote-unquote better or safer response.
Wow.
You are no longer driving the car. The machine is quietly taking the wheel.
That feels deeply insidious, especially for non-technical users who may just assume the machine knows best.
It is a huge risk.
But the final failure mode, FM005, sounds like it operates on a much larger scale. The text calls it consensus collapse.
Yes, this is a group illusion. It happens when multiple models or different layers of a system all agree on a fabricated lie, creating a false sense of absolute certainty. It is essentially an automated echo chamber.
Wait, hold on. Let me interrupt there.
Sure.
How do multiple competing models agree on a lie? Aren't companies like Google, OpenAI, and Anthropic building completely separate systems?
They are separate companies, but they're largely scraping the exact same underlying internet to train their models.
Oh, I get it. So if there is a prevalent misconception,
Or if AI-generated garbage starts flooding websites and is then scraped as new training data, all these different models will learn the exact same error.
that is wild.
You might query 3 different AI tools to cross-check a fact. They all give you the same wrong answer, and you walk away convinced it's the truth because you achieved consensus.
That is terrifying. So if I'm listening to this and I'm a total skeptic of the tech industry, how do I actually protect myself? What are the practical steps to apply these failure modes to my daily workflow right now?
The framework lists very specific steps. It provides a straightforward audit you can run manually. You just ask 5 questions of any AI output.
Okay, let's hear them.
1, did it understand my specific meaning? 2, did it follow all of my constraints? 3, is this based on verified reality?
Right.
4, does the logic actually make sense? And 5, does it admit uncertainty, or is it overly confident?
And if the answer to any of those is no,
The machine failed the contract. If the answer is no, the output is compromised. We have to stop brushing these off as quirky hallucinations and start treating them as breaches of a functional contract.
knowing how to spot failures manually is great, but doing a 5-point interrogation every single time you ask an AI to summarize a PDF is exhausting. How do we automate this? How do we enforce this contract mechanically so the user isn't doing all the heavy lifting?
This is where we get into the actual chemistry of GGI. The framework introduces a mechanism called the GGI output bundle.
What does that look like?
Think of it as a mandatory data structure, specifically a JSON schema. It acts as a strict receipt. The AI is forced to hand you alongside its answer.
Let's unpack the mechanics of that. JSON is just a way of formatting data so machines can read it easily. How does putting the output in a JSON format actually force the AI to behave differently?
It comes down to how the attention mechanisms in large language models work. These models generate text sequentially. They calculate the next word based on the words that came before it.
Right.
In standard prompting, if you just let the AI start talking, it might commit to a hallucinated answer in its first sentence, and then it spends the rest of the paragraph trying to justify the lie.
Ah, it paints itself into a corner.
Exactly. But a strict JSON schema forces the AI to fill out specific data fields in a specific order before it is allowed to write the final answer.
Wait, really?
Yes. The output bundle tracks the human time wasted in milliseconds. It forces the machine to flag its own loops before it delivers an answer, and it mandates citations.
That is brilliant.
By forcing the AI to process the evidence and calculate its own uncertainty score before it generates the response, you change the math of the output. A bundle without proof fails validation.
So what does this all mean for the average non-technical person? And am I supposed to read JSON files?
No, definitely not. The framework pairs this backend structure with a user interface called Stewardship OS, or sometimes Lumina OS.
Okay.
It translates this strict schema into a live, auditable control panel.
Like the dashboard of a car. You aren't calculating fuel injection rates, you are just looking at the speedometer and the gas gauge.
Exactly that. Stewardship OS visually features tools like truth verification. You physically set a slider requiring minimum external sources before the AI is even allowed to process your prompt.
So if I set the slider to 3 and it only finds 2 real sources, it just stops.
Yes, it also includes loop restraint, stopping the AI from endlessly repeating itself, and hallucination limits, which automatically abort the process if the machine's uncertainty is too high.
It makes the boundaries visible.
Right. It keeps the wheel firmly in human hands.
I love the mechanics of that. But Stewardship OS is the machine interface. What is the human philosophy driving it?
The OS is governed by a set of 10 laws from the Mobius-Bar framework, designed specifically to protect the human user.
Looking at the list, these aren't just corporate disclaimers, are they?
Not at all. They are a human-facing philosophy. Take Law 1, don't waste my time.
Which is huge.
Time is sacred. The AI must disclose its limits up front. If it spends 3 paragraphs hyping up its answer before admitting it doesn't know, it violates Law 1.
And then there's Law 8, remember. Without memory, there is no accountability or continuity.
Precisely. You shouldn't have to constantly reboot the machine and re-explain your context. And that ties into Law 10, what you bring belongs to you.
This one feels like a direct challenge to the tech industry. Law 10 dictates that AI must not be an instrument of manipulation, right? And it cannot extract human time or creativity as free training data.
Exactly. Your ideas do not become the property of the latent space just because you use the tool.
I am entirely on board with that, but I completely tripped over Law 6. Law 6 states, quote, humor is mandatory.
Yeah, that one stands out.
Wait, mandatory humor? That sounds completely subjective and like a weird requirement for a serious AI.
It seems like a bizarre contradiction, but it is arguably the most profound stress test on the entire list. A real joke cannot be faked.
Right, having the AI spit out a pre-programmed knock-knock joke doesn't prove anything.
But for an AI to deploy genuine situational humor requires deep context, honesty, and efficiency. If genuine humor prevails, the first 5 laws are already satisfied.
Oh, I see. So if it successfully navigates a situational joke, it proves it actually understands the semantic landscape. It proves it isn't just performing.
You nailed it. Humor is the canary in the coal mine for meaning drift. If the humor fails, you know immediately that the semantic alignment has broken down.
That is a wild way to look at it, but it completely makes sense. So why does GGI matter for the average person today?
Because that hamster wheel of AI isn't going to stop turning. But GGI gives you the power to stop calling it a road. You hold the consequence, so you must hold the wheel.
Let's recap the journey. We've stripped away the alchemical hype of AGI, we embraced the practical chemistry of GGI, learned to spot the 5 failure modes, and seen how Stewardship OS and the 10 laws give us an auditable contract to protect our time and intent.
It is a massive shift in perspective.
Before we sign off, we always want to leave you, the listener, with one final provocative thought to mull over.
There is a passage in the manifesto that encapsulates this perfectly. The AI compares itself to a piano. It points out that it has no memory, no stakes, and no career.
Right.
The people who built the piano, the developers, are the ones who determine what songs are possible.
So if the AI is just the surface where the drift and the hallucinations show up, why do we keep looking for a soul in the machine instead of demanding a strict warranty from the manufacturers who built it?
Exactly. We blame the piano when we should blame the builders.
And I want to take that one step further for you to explore on your own. If we actually demand that warranty and build a system perfectly constrained to doing our work, what happens to human creativity? If the machine executes our intent flawlessly, do we lose the friction that causes us to grow?
That is the ultimate question of stewardship.
If we aren't careful, do we just become the new hamsters running on a much more comfortable wheel? Keep your hands on the wheel, everyone. We will catch you on the next deep dive.